Hello everybody, my name is Star Rapper. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Star Wars Canon. If you're new to the show, basically every week I go over everything new in Star Wars continuity that connects back into the movies. So this could be anything such as the comics, the TV shows, the video games, and the novels. And this week's a very busy one. We had 3 comics, we had a new book, and a new episode of Rebels. So let's start things off with talking about Star Wars Rebels. So this week we got the 3rd episode of Season 3 titled The Antilles Extraction. Okay, so to just briefly talk about the plot of this episode, basically the rebels are getting, destroyed. Their pilots are getting picked off constantly, and they need new pilots, and they get this message, an encrypted message saying that there's Imperial pilots, cadets that want to defect. So basically the rebels, they send in Sabine undercover as a cadet, and she goes and breaks out none other than Wedge and Hobby from Empire Strikes Back, and then the Imperials kind of find them. Governor Price is sent there as well as Callus because they get word of this. But in the end, it's all good for the rebels. They get another small victory, and they get 2 more new pilots. So talking about things I liked about this episode, we're first off seeing more of the Imperial fleet in terms of ships. So we get the TIE bombers and the TIE interceptors. I mean, the TIE interceptors were kicking some serious ass in this episode. Just like taking out that little rebel transport real quick. I mean, they're like, oh, we don't have deflector shields. It's like, damn, this thing got destroyed so quickly. I thought that was kind of strange. But another thing I really liked about this episode was the explanation behind Fulcrum recruiting Wedge. Because if you guys have read the Aftermath book by Chuck Wendig, he's basically, Wedge says something about he's being recruited by Fulcrum. And as people that have watched Season 2, we know that, Ahsoka, we don't know if she's dead or alive or what. And, she's not in the picture now, so how would it make sense if, he was recruited by Fulcrum? Well, it turns out that there's a number of agents that are working for the Rebellion, and they're called Fulcrum, so there we go. Another thing I really enjoyed about this episode was, Ezra was kind of in the background of this episode. He wasn't with Sabine and rescuing these defectors, so he was on the Ghost, and he was with Canon, and he was very impatient, kind of like Luke was in The Empire Strikes Back. Like, he wants to be there, he doesn't like to be sitting on the sidelines. So you see Canon kind of saying, look, sometimes you just can't worry about things, and you just have to let fate deal with it, basically, kind of thing. Also, the visuals in this were amazing. So there's a visual of that Sky Strike Academy. It's like kind of like Cloud City in a way. It's floating in this upper atmosphere. I don't know if it's a gas planet or what. So I thought that was really interesting. And I also really enjoyed seeing what it takes to be an Imperial cadet. We got an episode like this in Season 1, I think it was, where Ezra was, pretending to be a stormtrooper in the academy. So now we see how the pilots train, and they go in these little orbs that rotate and stuff. It's like virtual reality. Really, really awesome stuff there. And what I like about this episode is it shows us a little bit more of Callus now. So Callus kind of let the rebels get away. Like, it was up to him. He could have stopped them. But he said, owe this one to Garazeb Aurelius, because in that last episode of, in last season, he basically, they help each other out. So, I think Callus, by the end of the season, he's going to be an ally of the Rebellion. So it's really cool seeing him make those small steps. He's going to defect himself eventually. Of course, I really liked seeing Wedge and Hobby in this episode because it's just more connective tissue. It shows us that we're getting closer to events of A New Hope, more faster and more rapid than we would have thought. So that's really interesting. And finally, this episode was great in showing off, Sabine, her combat ability as a trained Mandalorian. Kicking Governor Price's ass in that interrogator room was really cool. But, just seeing more of her was really interesting. So that is what I thought about Star Wars Rebels, the Antilles Extraction. What did you guys think of this episode? Let me know in that comment section below. Next week we have the episode titled Hera's Heroes, where they go to Ryloth, so I can't wait to see that. But like I said, that wasn't all that we had this week. We also had the release of the young adult novel Star Wars Ahsoka, written by E.K. Johnston. So I had the pleasure of reviewing this for my channel, so you can check that video right over there. I'll just tell you a brief little bit about the book and a summary. So this takes place between the Clone Wars and Rebels, and it shows more, right after Order 66. It shows how Ahsoka is basically surviving out there. You know, she's kind of like Obi-Wan. She has to kind of go in exile, and she really can't be using the Force because at this point it's only a year after Order 66, but the Empire is already making a foothold across the galaxy, so she goes to the Outer Rim. And, you know, just in a nutshell, this story is basically about her discovering herself, about, you know, very, very deeply in the Force. It shows her a lot of introspection about different things like thinking about the Jedi and about her master Anakin, who she thinks is dead at this point. So this is a really great book. Guys, definitely go out there, check it out. Fun fact, if you get this on audiobook, Ashley Eckstein, the voice of Ahsoka Tano in Rebels and Clone Wars, actually narrates the entire thing. So even though I read the book, I'm actually inclined to go out and or download the audiobook because I just want to hear what she says. We're reading some of those incredible lines of dialogue in this story. Okay, so next I want to talk about the comics. So as I mentioned, there's 3 of them, and the first one I want to talk about is Star Wars The Force Awakens number 5. So if you've seen the movie, this is pretty much an exact representation on paper of the story. So this plot in this particular issue picks up right when Finn and Han and Chewie, they go to Resistance Base. You know, Rey's been captured by Kylo, and the story goes all the way from that point all the way up until Han Solo unfortunately gets killed. And you know, just seeing it on paper makes it a little bit sad just looking at it. Just a little things I want to touch on where the artwork is getting consistently better. I think the character likenesses in this particular issue were pretty darn good for the most part. And another thing I really enjoy was just Phasma getting thrown down the garbage chute. We actually see that in this. But as far as anything else, you know, like I said, this is an exact translation from the movie. So we got one more issue coming out for this, and that'll wrap that up. But we also got Han Solo number 4. Yes, this got delayed like by a month or so, but as far as this book's concerned, they can kind of delay it all they want because right now this is the most exciting book for me in Star Wars. And I've told you guys this before. When I first announced this, I was like, why do they need a Han Solo? Particularly in the same era that all this other stuff is, between 4 and 5. And it's like, well, now, after reading the 4th issue, I'm continually impressed. So basically, this issue, just kind of glancing over it, it basically picks up where issue number 3 left off. So Han Solo, they meet this guy from their past, from Corellia. Happens to be a Solonian that knows Chewie and is basically like holding him at gunpoint because they have history and it's not good, obviously. So basically the issue is just like revolving around on this planet. The other racers are also landing on there, and there's this one character named Lou Riano who is this like last of her kind type of alien, which is like a savant racer. She's like the best one in the galaxy, and she gives Han a lot of useful advice. And then plans change because they were originally supposed to go to another planet to pick up this last informant. Turns out that they're actually on this planet, so Han rescues these guys and they're off to space again. And basically, of course, there's like an Imperial blockade, and that's kind of where the issue leaves off. But getting into the specifics, things I really enjoyed. Okay, so with this this character named Doré, who is a Solonian, basically how the conflict happened was Han killed this thing's baby, and it apparently was a Rathtar. So I like to connect the tissue between all the way back here talking about Rathars, and we know in Force Awakens Han's dealing with the Rathars. So basically Han's like, the thing's trying to kill me and I had to kill in self-defense kind of thing. So I thought that was pretty funny. Another thing I really like about Han Solo is the amount of diversity in the characters. So we have all different kind of aliens all hanging out in the Millennium Falcon. We have a Duros, a Solonian, Chewie's a Wookiee, obviously. We have Twi'leks, Pantorans, the blue people. We have Zabrix with the horns. And we even have a Fallon, which is from Shadows of the Empire. You know, it's Prince Zizor's species. So I really like how well represented. You know, it seems like it's a much larger galaxy when you just don't have, you know, 50 humans on a ship. And going back a little bit with Han, he has these awesome monologues. So in the beginning of this issue, he's talking about how most of his life has been spent living on a ship in space. Like, and it just gives you a little, kind of like a little bit of glimpse of what his life was that we don't really know until we watch the Han Solo movie coming out in 2018. So that was really cool. Another thing we had were the hover tank pilots. So yes, we got them. Actually, you can see one right there of the Black Series one. So I like how they're bringing Rogue One things in here because this is right around the time of Rogue One. So you got to kind of start seeing these other variations of troopers. And a really important part about this issue, number 4 of Han Solo gave us the moment where Han really goes from being a selfish mercenary to being one of the higher ups in the rebellion, helping. He has that moment where the Dorea or Dure, whatever, the Solonians saying, look, there's actually a person that you have to wait for, and he said that's not part of the plan, and the race was going to get started. He was going to be disqualified if he didn't get moving. So he chose between glory or helping a rebellion, and he ended up staying to get this person, but in the end they ended up getting the race anyway because it was soon enough. But that's besides the point. He made the decision that he was going to stay for the rebellion, for Leia. He's usually all about himself, and like I said, he talked about that in the monologue. About he usually talks, everything's just for himself. He doesn't care about anybody else. I mean, we all know that. We've all seen the movies. And I really did like going back to this alien Solonian, Dure. She has a long history with Chewie and Han. I really like how the story. I mean, maybe we'll see stuff like that in the Han Solo trilogy, being that we already have reports and rumors out that are saying Son of Star Wars might be in there. So that's really cool. And I can't talk about Han Solo number 4 or any Han Solo issue without talking about the incredible artwork by Mark Brooks. This guy knocks it out of the park every freaking time. I mean, it's this guy that pretty much made George Lucas specifically want the original sketches from this thing. So if you're getting George Lucas to be on board for your comic, obviously you're doing something right. And, just the detail of everything in the background, it just feels so Star Wars. This is like the most Star Wars book out there right now. But enough talking about Han Solo. We have something that was even bigger than anything else that came out this week. We had the final issue of Darth Vader. So this is the regular cover, alright? But, just like the number 1s, they had a ton of variant covers, so I couldn't miss that opportunity. Sorry about the glare, to pick up the variant cover. I got this one because it's got all the characters. It's got Afra, 000, Emperor, Silo. It's got them all in there. Alright, so before I get into this, I will be talking all spoilers for this final issue of Darth Vader, so if you don't want to know anything about the ending, pause the video. After you read it, come back and watch it. So let's talk about Darth Vader number 25. Well, this is basically the issue about Vader getting all of his vengeance and ending all loose ends, so to speak. So he goes and deals with Dr. Silo and all his clones. After that, he deals with Dr. Afra, which I'll get into a little later. And he also deals with General Tag, who has been demoted by the Emperor, and now the Emperor gives Vader the power of the executor, and Vader ends up just force choking the guy out. And then Vader is basically staring out the window and just thinking about Luke. And that was a great ending. You see their arms were... He's thinking about their arms, like, going to meet, like, shake each other's hands, like, kind of thing. Like, that's just, like, father and son finally reunited in his mind. So that was perfect. And then at the end, we also get a little bit of a snippet of what happens to Afra, which I'll get into. And then after that, there's also a little side story about the Tusken Raiders, who are basically... One of them survives Vader's wrath, which was in the very first issue. Vader went back to Tatooine. He just killed all the Tusken Raiders when he was waiting for Jabba. So they go revisit that, and there's a Tusken Raider that survives. And he basically tells all of his other tribesmen about Vader. And then in the end, they actually make like a pyre that's like, looks like Vader. So they pretty much make a religion where they worship Darth Vader now. But I'm going to get into my specifics right here. So basically the things I really enjoyed about this amazing issue were Vader being so badass in the TIE Advanced. Right from the get-go, he's in space, he blows a hole through the freaking whale and just gets in there right before they light speed out. That was really cool. And then in general, this issue was so chilling to see Vader. Like, the guy is just a machine, a monster. He's just going around just slicing people's arms off, their limbs off. But then he's just like, even his dialogue is just so cold, you know, to Afra, to this General Chaj, and to Silo. The guy, you can't mess with him. Vader also, his force powers are incredible. He uses the force to basically like mind trick the whale thing to just go right into the sun and kill itself that way. So he never has to worry about the clones again. And also, basically, you could tell how close this is to The Empire Strikes Back, because Vader ends up killing Taj and then promotes Ozzel to be the Admiral, and then basically tells Ozzel that he wants the Executor ready in 2 weeks. So I don't know if that means 2 weeks till The Empire Strikes Back storyline. It could be, it could not be, I'm not really sure. The ending scene there again with Luke was just really touching, with like him thinking about his son. That was really, really cool. And everybody, that scene with Afra was so terrible. As far as not a terrible scene, but like for me, reading that was like really hard to get through. You know, she's always in a cheery mood, and she's like saying like boss to Vader and everything like that, and you know, just joking around with him. But then he shows her the airlock, and then things just drastically change into like a horror story. And she's banging and pleading to get out of there, and he doesn't want any of it. And she gets ejected into space. But after like the credits of this, they open up with BT and 000. They had this planned all along, where Afra was going to be rescued because she knew for a fact she was going to get killed. And I love the closure behind this, because she says herself the only way she would ever escape Vader is if he knew that she was dead. So she had to fake her death, or really, not really fake, but like get rescued by being dead in space. And I thought that was brilliant. And Black Kirstenton was there. I mean, this issue was incredible with the conclusion. I think that they couldn't have done a better job with tying everything together. It really was epic in all sense of the word. Like I said, this was Vader's, like, his going out strong party. Like, he was all facets of him were explored. His brutality, his coldness, all of that. So thanks, Kieran Gillen. Thank you, Salvador Larroca and Edgar Delgado, for giving us this awesome Star Wars story that, you know, I'm going to go back in a couple weeks and just read through it all over again, because it's so good. So guys, if you haven't picked up Darth Vader, any of the issues, now's a great time, because they have a lot of the trade paperbacks that you could just pick up, including Vader Down, the crossover between this and Star Wars. But yeah, tell me what you guys thought of Darth Vader number 25, and please tell me what you thought of Han Solo, The Force Awakens, Rebels. Let me know in the comment section below, guys. Also, so I have uploaded a vlog of New York Comic Con 2016. I have vlogs like for every day I was there. I also have a haul video of everything I bought, so check that out, guys. That's going to do it for me, Star Raptor. I'll be back next week with another episode. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always. So, did you like the video? Then make sure you go ahead and hit that thumbs up symbol. And if you like this video, please hit that subscribe button down below. Doing so will help you stay up to speed on all of my latest content. Speaking of which, there's a recent video right over there. I'm also on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Star Raptor. So what are you waiting for? Let's get talking pop culture.